Current challenges facing the Indian economy. One of the most important current challenges facing the Indian economy is poverty. In this unit, in this chapter, we'll be discussing many topics or questions, answers on poverty. From India's country's point of view, poverty is very important. Define poverty: urban poor, rural poor. Then you have different kinds of poverty: churning poverty, casual poverty, seasonal poverty, always poor. And what exactly is poverty line and how is it determined? What are the causes of poverty and what measures the government has taken to control poverty in India? What exactly is poverty? We discussed in the last video. This might come for 1 mark. What defines poverty? Poverty is defined as when an individual is not able to meet even the basic necessities such as food, clothing, shelter, and basic necessities such as education, medical facilities, that we call it as poverty. That means these people have nothing, absolutely no education, no health facilities, no food, forget about shelter. That's poverty. See, we can study poverty under 2 forms here. One is poor in urban, one is poor in rural areas. Urban poor, that means the poor people in cities, and rural poor, that means poor people in villages. What exactly is urban poor? What exactly is rural poor? Let's talk about urban poor. Who are these people, urban poor? These are cobblers, these can be beggars, these can be cart pullers in cities, these can be cobblers sitting in the streets, and this can be even small vegetable vendors. These are poor. And these people are not able to meet even the basic necessities. They live in kacha houses. And some of them don't have even these kind of dwellings. That is urban poor. These include beggars, these include cobblers, these include rag pickers, this includes the other small vegetable vendors. And these people do not have the basic facilities and they live in poverty. Their dwellings are kacha, that means they're made of bamboo or thatch and mud walls. Some of the poor have no dwellings even. And who is urban? This is urban poor. Who is rural poor? The poor in the rural areas. Who are these people? The poor in rural areas, these include landless laborers. These include small cultivators with dry land which is of not much of use. These include the other poor farmers, right, working on someone else's farm as bonded laborers and all. And these people also live in a very, right. In case of urban poor, I forgot to tell you, urban poor is when these poor people migrate from villages to urban areas, so then that will be urban poor. Urban poor, they come from villages, from rural areas in search of jobs and all. Who is rural poor? Rural poor, I told you, right, it includes landless laborers, it includes maybe the people, bonded laborers working on someone else's land, and even some of the small cultivators, landlords, who have small pieces of land without much of use for cultivation. So these people also live in poverty. They don't have proper education facilities, they don't have proper medical facilities, they don't have proper food, and they live in poverty. So we'll read in holistic, right? What exactly is rural poor? What is urban poor? Look on the board here. Now you'll get a fairly good idea. Distinguish between urban poor and rural poor. Poverty in India has been studied from 2 points. Urban poor and rural poor. Poor in urban areas. In urban areas, poor people include pushcart vendors, street cobblers, rag pickers, beggars, etc. I've given these points, the characteristics of these people in points, so it becomes easier for you from the exam point of view. These poor people possess few assets. They have nothing, no assets. They reside in kacha house hutments, that means not pakka, not concrete. The poorest among them do not have even such dwellings. The urban poor are largely the overflow of rural poor. This overflow, these people have come from rural areas in search of jobs, in search of a better life. Poor in rural areas, these include landless, agricultural poor laborers, cultivators, very small farmers, and many rural people do not get to have even 2 meals a day. Even though they are small cultivators, they don't get to have even 2 meals. Many of these rural poor are landless people. Even some of them possess land, it is only dry or wasteland. So we repeat once again for you to understand. It's a kind of revision for you. Distinguish between urban poor and rural poor. Poverty in India has been studied from 2 points, urban and rural. Poor in urban areas, poor people include pushcart vendors, street cobblers, rag pickers, beggars, etc. We see these characteristics of these urban poor here in detail. 1. These poor people possess few assets. 2. They reside in kacha hutments with walls made of baked mud and roofs made of grass that thatch bamboo and wood. The third point you have are the characteristics of the poor in urban. The poorest of them do not even have such dwellings. And the last point you have are the last characteristics of poor in urban. The urban poor are largely the overflow of rural poor who had migrated to urban areas in search of employment and livelihood. Poor in rural areas, these include landless agricultural poor laborers, cultivators with very small land holdings, landless laborers engaged in a variety of non-agricultural jobs, or tenant cultivators with small land holdings. And we'll see the characteristics. 1. Many of the rural people are landless. Even if some of them possess land, it's only dry or wasteland. And the last characteristic you have, many rural people do not get to have even 2 meals a day. So that's we learn the distinction between urban poor and rural poor. To put it in simple words, urban poor, that is the poor people living in cities. This is overflow of the rural poor. When the rural people come to cities in search of jobs, in search of a better life, it leads to urban poor. What are some of the characteristics? They do not have proper dwellings. They live in kacha houses made of baked walls and roofs made of thatch or bamboo, and they do not have education. Some of the examples of these people are beggars, or maybe pushcart vendors and cobblers, rag pickers. And who are rural poor people? These are landless laborers who work on someone else's land. Some of them may be working in other fields in rural areas, and some of them have small cultivators with small land which is not of much use, and these people also live a miserable life. They have no education, they have no basic necessities of life. That's all we have for this video. Till we meet next time, don't forget to share, subscribe, like and comment on our videos, I'm sure you're following all the videos. They really help you from exam point of view. Before I forget, I remind you, whatever the points flashing on your video, please jot it down and copy and memorize. That will really help you for your board examination. And last advice to you is, why don't you share these videos with your friends? If you call them your real friends, share these videos. They will help them for their board examinations and they will bless you, mind it. So that's it. It's a goodbye from Saddam Hussein, guys. Work hard for your board examination. Best of luck. God will help you, those who help themselves. Bye-bye.